played Halo 2 for a little bit in MLG, and I'm not saying I was great, but I was there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was that was really fun because we used to travel to go to different tournaments and whatnot. Me and my team did, and those are some of the best memories that I have by far. Just the fact that we were playing a video game and getting paid to do it, and we were like competing against some of the best people in the world and traveling to different states and staying in hotel rooms and just like we were just balling out. Like we would just go to restaurants and just be like, "Oh yeah, $30, $40 steak. Hey, I'm just gonna leave 100 on the table. See y'all later, dude."
Jaman, yeah, Jaman. I hope you like a Jaman too. Welcome, one and all, to Jamancast. This is a podcast dedicated to celebrating video games and delivering video game news and interviews. I adore video games, and I love sharing that with you every week, so if you stick around, I think you'll have a good time. This week we have What's News, where I go over the video game news for the week, and then I have an interview with Atacas. He's a man who streams World of Warcraft. He's a level 60 Orc Warrior player in classic World of Warcraft. He's the GM of his guild, and he's grinding that endgame content. You can find him streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Atacas, Atacas, and also guides and more at his YouTube channel, same name, the user Atacas. Before we get started, I want to inform you of a few ways you can elevate your experience. I have a phone number you can call if you hear something and feel like making a point, if you feel like giving me your opinion on it. If you say something interesting, if you make a great point, I'm happy to put you on the air and respond in kind. The number you can call to leave your opinion is 949-407-9198. That's 949-407-9198. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, at JamanTheShaman. You'll know more about what I'm up to and how you can be involved. I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jaman. So let's go, let's get this podcast started. What's news, everyone? I have some fantastic news for you today, some video game news for this week. Lots of stuff coming around from all sources. Not just talking about Classic World of Warcraft today. Actually, Classic WoW only has one post so far that I've even looked at. Okay? So here's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about is an article by Engadget.com. Igor Bonifasic on September 19th, 2019 posted this. The European Union consumers have won the right to resell their Steam titles through Valve's digital marketplace. So the Paris Court of First Instance ruled on Tuesday that European Union law allows Steam users to resell their digital games just like they can any physical product. Valve's lawyers attempted to argue Steam was a subscription service. The court, however, rejected Valve's defense, saying Steam doesn't sell games as part of a subscription package. The court went on to say Valve's policy on game reselling is against European Union laws that govern the free flow of digital goods. Valve co-founder Doug Lombardi said the company plans to appeal the ruling. The decision will have no effect on Steam while the case is on appeal, he said. Lombardi added if the ruling is upheld, Valve will be forced to change its store policy or face stiff fines. So it looks like the European Union is fighting the idea that Valve sells you a digital game and you can't resell that game. You have that game and it's stuck. That's what you get. You get that game. That's it. An interesting idea. I don't know if it's going to work, what's going to happen with that. Obviously, what is the change in this, right? Valve sells a digital game. I don't want it anymore. I've played 50 hours, 200 hours of it. I want to sell it to somebody else. Does Valve then take a cut? I assume they would. That sounds like a great idea for Valve, just being able to resell the games. But they can't resell the original for the full price then, because they're buying a used digital good, but they have to just give a copy of the digital good. It's the same thing, right? It's just a digital file. So are they taking my digital file away and giving it to someone else? No, they're giving the key. That's the important part. So my key is being taken away and given to somebody else. That's the product. My key to the game that I bought. Because Steam holds the game. They have the data for it. They keep updating my games constantly. So that'll be an interesting thing to see what happens coming down the pipe. It's not going to be for a while. This stuff is all in litigation. It's going to be a long time before anything really happens with this. But I'll keep you up to date. I'll keep you up to news on this because I want to know if I'm going to be able to sell my Steam games back. You know how many games I have on Steam that I don't want, that I've never played, that I've never touched? A lot, okay? There's a lot. Moving on to the next thing for what's news for this week in video game and news. Teamfight Tactics, League of Legends. I haven't talked about this before. Haven't really mentioned League of Legends much. But in an article on their website, Riot has released a press update on Teamfight Tactics titled TFT Update, Numbers and What's Next by Riot Maple Nectar. That's who posted this. So Riot is doubling down on Teamfight Tactics. They're saying we've shipped a variety of game modes over the years, and Teamfight Tactics is the first one since ARAM to show the potential to be a huge long-term addition to League. We feel confident in really doubling down on TFT's development. We're committed to building a competitive scene for TFT starting in 2020. They released a number of statistics, including a chart detailing how well TFT is doing in player retention. And I guess I can't go an episode when discussing a new esports league without thinking about the HGC, the Heroes Global Championship for Heroes of the Storm. And I'm assuming that Riot is doing a bunch of research into this. Obviously, they have the numbers. And TFT is probably much larger than Heroes was. So we'll see the future of this new esports league or competitive scene that's being created. I've seen a lot of people playing this and streaming this game, and I've not yet taken the chance to play it myself, even though it does look fun. I don't know how competitive a game it could make. It reminds me a lot of those StarCraft 2 arcade games and Warcraft 3 custom games that clash two AI-controlled armies into each other based on your unit selections. Those weren't particularly competitive, but I do see a lot of updates on Twitter. Crowan, ex-Heroes of the Storm player, now playing TFT and playing in the very high level of this game, doing an amazing job of develop. The meta is obviously going to develop, and we'll see what happens there. I'll keep you up to date if I hear anything interesting. So now I want to talk about Respawn Entertainment. So Respawn Entertainment is an Electronic Arts-owned game studio behind Titanfall and Apex Legends. They just dropped a new trailer for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and it looks good. But I'm a Star Wars fanboy, so I can't really be objective about this. They showed footage of boss battles, or what appeared to be rather large monsters versus the player character. Cal is his name. And it seems to be heavily leaning on this Dark Souls, Sekiro-like combat, but the game is a Star Wars game. So I highly doubt that they will make the game as difficult as a Souls game. I have no evidence of this or no anything to say, but I'm assuming, and this is again me assuming, so be careful with that. That's lesson number one. I'm assuming there's going to be a difficulty slider for this game. It's an EA Star Wars game. They want to make it as accessible as possible. If they're taking from Sekiro, they're not going to make it as difficult as Sekiro, okay? They're not going to make it as difficult as a Souls game. I'm assuming there's going to be a difficulty slider and the gameplay will suffer because of that, okay? Having a difficulty selector makes a game difficult to balance where the depth of the game actually is. Like, what do I fight here? What am I doing? If it's too easy and you can slide it back and forth, making it like, here's the most difficult version is just way overtuned, way big numbers, but it also has to be playable on the easiest mode, and it can't play itself, it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting game. I think it'll be good. It looks really good. And, difficulty sliders haven't ruined games before. Listen, Halo had difficulty sliders. A fantastic game. So you can't really knock it for that. I'm just wondering about the Sekiro-like stuff. Like, that's kind of weird. Could you imagine having a difficulty slider in Dark Souls? I'd be dropping that thing to the bottom, baby, because I suck. Can't get good. I get bad, man. I just need to get easy. In the trailer, we get to see a little bit of the not Sith, but totally the Sith bad guys. They're called the Inquisitorius. It seems that they're the Inquisitors from, I remember them from the Rebel show, but they're not Sith. They're like Sith light. They're the Inquisitors, but they're calling them the Inquisitorius on the trailer. It's a Star Wars single-player game, okay, guys? It's Star Wars. It's single-player. I'm sure I'm playing it, and we'll see how this goes when it releases on November 15th, 2019. And speaking of Respawn, on GameSpot, Peter Brown had an article, and Nick Stat on The Verge had an article, and combining these two articles together for this source here. In Respawn, the guys who are working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the EA owned company, in a partnership with Oculus VR, the studio revealed Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, a virtual reality take on the classic World War II franchise. The game was announced with a 2020 release date, on stage by Mike Verdu, the head of VR and AR content at Facebook. So virtual reality, augmented reality at Facebook at the Oculus Connect Developer Conference in San Jose, California. Medal of Honor has not seen a game since 2012's Medal of Honor Warfighter. The original games were frontlined by Steven Spielberg, who crafted the storylines of the first 3 games, and the project is under game director Peter Hirschman, the writer of the original Medal of Honor at DreamWorks Interactive. Above and Beyond will also incorporate mini documentaries produced in cooperation with World War II veterans, which according to Oculus let you sit with World War II veterans and survivors to hear their stories while witnessing firsthand the events and locations that have shaped our history. Peter Hirschman said, "Interviewing veterans of World War II was an immersive privilege and allowed us to ensure its respect and faithfulness to those who served. They're helping us drive home the full emotional and historical weight of this subject matter with players in a way that really resonates." Above and Beyond will feature missions like the storming of the beaches of Normandy on D-Day and plenty of covert operations behind enemy lines with the French resistance. That sounds amazing, okay? I don't have any VR. I don't have an Oculus Rift. I don't have anything for Facebook stuff. That sounds awesome. I loved the old Medal of Honor games. Honestly, the music still gives me chills when I hear it. If you're ever listening to me on stream and you hear that song come on, I'm just like taken back to my childhood and taken back to these games that really filled me with just how amazing they were. Call of Duty was nothing compared to Medal of Honor back when I was a kid, because Medal of Honor had the story, it had the music, it had the vibe. It was just beautiful. And I never knew that Steven Spielberg was on those first 3 games. That explains quite a bit, okay? Steven Spielberg made those games. Those games were fantastic. Call of Duty was the garbage version of it, okay? It was the blah, blah, blah. And then, guess what? Steven Spielberg no longer making Medal of Honor games. They seem to not do so well anymore. Connection, probably. That's pretty simple. But Call of Duty takes off, does its own thing. Goes very big, like explodey Michael Bay in his Call of Duty games. Medal of Honor was not like that. It was just a very compelling, good story, and like, oh man, it was good. It was so good. I hope this game is good. That sounds great. Maybe I'll actually have to get an Oculus and check it out. And the final thing I want to talk about today on What's News, on this podcast, because I do want to get to the interview, but the final thing I want to talk about is, dare I say it, classic World of Warcraft. And only one thing to say, okay? So a couple weeks ago, the suspect of the DDoS attacks that happened a few weeks ago, he was identified and arrested. Or, well, they didn't say he, but they said a suspect of the DDoS attacks that happened a few weeks ago was identified and arrested. Caviax, the community manager, posted this on the forums on September 20th, 2019. And he said, "Hello, everyone. We wanted to return to this subject and put some closure on it. As always, it is our top priority to resolve any issues that prevent players from having a smooth gameplay experience. Immediately after the distributed denial of service attacks against our game service began, the Blizzard security team," the Blizzard security team, they sound badass. Those guys are the 2 badass. It's like, could you imagine? All right, we got the Secret Service over here, and we got the Blizzard security team over here. Excuse me, I'm getting off track. So immediately after the distributed denial of service attacks against our game servers began, the Blizzard security team worked around the clock with local and international law enforcement agencies to track down the source of the DDoS. It is our understanding that within a few days, authorities were able to successfully identify and arrest a suspect. We really appreciate your patience and understanding. Also, for anyone listening, I am fully aware that it is not DDoS, it is DDoS, but I cannot stop my body from saying DDoS. It just reads really easy for me. I need to stop that, but that's what you get, okay? I'm apologizing for it. It's still on the podcast, not going to even take it out. So that's it, guys. That's What's News. That's everything that I thought was interesting this week in the news. There's a bunch of other crap that I was sorting through, and I was like, this is garbage. One of them was did I even mention it? Okay. It was a Quidditch game. That's all I'll say. It looked terrible. Maybe it'll be amazing, but that looked terrible. It was some kind of an announcement of a Quidditch-like game called, what was it? It was called Broomstick League. That's what it was called. And the trailer was terrible. The broomsticks had jet engines in them, apparently, because the noises they were making were so dumb. That's all I'll say. So let's go on. I got a nice, beautiful interview for you guys. His name is Atacas. He's a classic World of Warcraft Orc Warrior player, level 60. He's grinding that endgame content that we all love to see. Go check him out on twitch.tv/Atacas. But let's get to the interview, because I'm going to introduce him again. I'm going to say all his social stuff again. He's got a YouTube. He's got a Twitch. Atacas. Atacas. Go follow it. Here we go. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another interview on Jamencast. I'm joined today by a man who streams World of Warcraft. He's a level 60 Orc Warrior player who's grinding the current endgame of classic World of Warcraft. You can find him streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Atacas, or you can find him on YouTube, Atacas, Atacas. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing good, man. Just running around doing some silly stuff.
In World of Warcraft, just checking it out, having a good time, right, man? That game is it's the game, man. It's the life right now.
It is literally the end all be all to all video games that will ever.
Yeah, I don't. It's literally like, yeah, it came out in 2004. They sent it out again, and we're like, yeah, we want this again. Bring it back. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there was just enough demand for it. I mean, there was tons of people that played on private servers. They even started. That's how it all got started, was with the petition to bring out real servers, and then eventually it just got enough gas to where they were like, all right, fine. I know we thought you didn't want this, but we were wrong.
Yeah, with Nostralius and all the freaking. The survey they had talking about how many the players that played it and what ages they were and how many people there were. It's just crazy. It's all, and to say there's no demand and to now see what we're doing with queue times and with the servers is crazy.
Yeah, my server still has queue times every day. I'm on Harad.
Harad, okay.
But yeah, it's like it's starting to go down though. Like I told everyone that was in my guild before it went up that I was like, no, we need to be on Harad. It's the first server that was created that everyone wanted to go on to. I guarantee you it will be like the OG server in the future. And all these other servers are going to slowly die just because that's, even when the game was live, like stuff would just die towards the end of an expansion. And yeah, I mean, it's starting to prove to be exactly as I predicted. Like our server is starting to balance out to where there's almost not a queue time, but there still is. Yeah. And eventually there won't be a queue time and we'll be the most populated server. So sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds great. I actually have it on. I'm on Scarum, and the problem on Scarum is that it's like 80% Horde now, and all the Alliance are taking the free transfer off, and none of the Horde are. So it's just becoming more and more skewed to being Horde centric, and it's just the PvP is gonna be awful. So we're gonna see how that works. Hopefully they have some paid character transfers soon. To allow people that want to be on a more balanced server to move there.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do need to implement paid character transfers. It's silly not to. Like, I get there's this whole, like, you know, hashtag no changes that everybody wants and whatnot. But realistically, like, quality of life things, like little things that don't really directly impact, like, stat balances and random stuff like that in game, or, you know, like community, that's something that should just be okay. I get that like transferring servers kind of affects community, but at the same time it doesn't, because like people might transfer off that you've never met, and people are going to transfer on that you've never met. So realistically, changing out those two people shouldn't be doing much to your server.
It does disrupt guilds and disrupt like the flow of things. Like I know my guild has been talking about transferring, and I've said no, we're not transferring because we're already on Scarum, which I don't want to go to anything. Just like you said, Herod is a high population. Scarum was like the third. I picked Scarum because it was like the one after Herod and Faralina. Like, okay, maybe this one will be the medium population server. We're not going to be super high population by the end of the game. And it turned out to be huge queues, just the same as everyone. But now it's turned out to be about medium, and we're fine. That's exactly what I thought it would be. It's great, except for the Horde and Alliance imbalance.
What's the imbalance on your server like?
So the Wowhead post said it was 70-30, 70 Horde for every 30 Alliance.
Oh Lord, that's awesome.
It's awesome. You think it's great? I don't know, man.
It's not conducive to good world PvP. I mean, yeah, like you'll be able to kill them more frequently and whatnot, but unfortunately, when you're competing for ranks, it's doesn't matter like how much you're crushing them as much. It's about in comparison to everyone else. So if there's less people to kill, then you're going to have a hard time getting them.
And like I said, all the character transfers are happening right now. All the Alliance are just transferring off because it's not fun to level in a place when there's 7 Horde for every one of you. Or every 3 of you. So the first thing I want to ask that I kind of, and I do this almost every time, but the first question I have that I feel is really important is I want to ask you about your gaming history. What was the first game that you growing up that you ever played that left an impression on you?
Um, well, I think the first game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers. My oldest brother was in the military at the time, and he left his Nintendo at my parents' house. And I was just like a little kid, hey, what's this thing? And
Mm-hmm.
then just got into it with my brother. And like, so I guess the I don't want to say it's like the most impressionable one that I've played, but it's definitely the longest memory I've had because we just played, Super Mario Brothers together and got in little arguments. Oh, I'm gonna be Mario. No, I'm gonna be Mario. No, you be Luigi. Meh. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mario was great, but then after that, I played Halo 2 in Major League Gaming for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Everything between then and there was just like random single player games like Final Fantasy 10 and all those like other different Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played Halo 2 for a little bit in MLG, and I'm not saying I was great, but I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was that was really fun because we used to travel to go to different tournaments and whatnot. Me and my team did, and those are some of the best memories that I have by far. Just the fact that we were playing a video game and getting paid to do it, and we were like competing against some of the best people in the world and traveling to different states and staying in hotel rooms and just like we were just balling out. Like we would just go to restaurants and just be like, "Oh yeah, $30, $40 steak. Hey, I'm just gonna leave 100 on the table. See y'all later, dude." But now that I'm older, I'm like, I should have saved that money. I was stupid.
Yeah, and that happens with like a lot of professional athletes too. They do the same thing. They get excited all their money they have, and then they end up getting out. 3-6 years later, and they have nothing left,
Yeah,
and all their
I mean,
managers taking all their money as well.
yeah. I mean, I definitely learned from it. So
Yeah.
if anything, it was something that I should have, or that I am glad to have done at such a young age. But
Hmm.
doesn't really make that much of a difference now.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear. I mean, every time someone talks about professional Halo 2, I'm like, dude, I remember watching the professional Halo 2 and just being like, holy crap, and learning about like the battle rifle having bloom and like having to slow down your
Hmm.
shots and like, dude, Halo 2 was great. Like it was just
Yeah,
a fantastic game to watch to play.
and the
Everything.
glitches in that game like separate you from being a good player versus a bad player. People say like, "Well, you're using glitches. That's not like good. You shouldn't be doing that. That
Hmm.
doesn't make you good." And it's like, no, I mean, it's kind of like everyone else is doing it, and if you're not on the same playing field, then you're just giving yourself a reason to fail. Because like, look at people who do like bodybuilding. If I were to go step on a bodybuilding stage right now, right,
Hmm.
and try to compete against people that were Mr. Olympia and everything, there's no way in hell I'd win because
Hmm.
they're all 285 pounds of solid muscle, and it's because they're on steroids. So
Yep.
anyone who competes against them has to do the same thing, or it's just not worth them even trying. So it was the same thing with like, the doing like BXRs, BXBs, and quad shots and double shots and everything. They were tiny little glitches, but I mean, that's what separated good players because it wasn't just, oh, I press RRX, YY, RRX, and my shots are fine or whatever. You had to do it in like a perfect rhythm or it just would not work at all. So figuring out that rhythm and being able to aim while doing that rhythm was what separated good players from bad.
Gotcha. And so did you ever stream Halo 2, or was before streaming was a thing?
That was
Really?
way before
Yeah.
streaming was a thing. I tried to make a montage one time with some like $100 capture card that I got from Best Buy, and I was out of my element.
Yeah. So when did you start actually streaming?
Um, I tried streaming a little bit during Legion because I
Hmm.
was playing with my friends again and I was trying to like, okay, I love World of Warcraft. Let me try to stream this. And then Legion was just so bad that I couldn't even stick around for long. So I
Hmm.
ended up moving into Rust, and I started playing Rust super heavily. I got a decent following from that for a little while, and then I started selling timeshare and thought, okay, I don't have time to do streaming anymore, so I'm just gonna do that. And
Yeah.
then that didn't work out, and I lost all of my following. So I was like, all right, well, we're starting over, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I was looking at some of your top clips and stuff, and I was noticing Rust and some Overwatch played a little bit, but yeah, mostly Rust and World of Warcraft. When did you start playing World of Warcraft then? Since you came back for Legion, obviously. So did you play
Yeah,
Vanilla?
yeah. I played in vanilla. I was ranked 10 on a warrior, but I was literally like one of the worst players in the world. It was the reason I got to rank 10 was just by sheer stupidity and hard-headedness. For the longest time, I was still using my Whirlwind axe at 60.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then I was in some random guild that I had joined, and I'd been in their Ventrilo a little bit, and some guy like kind of felt bad for me, and this was towards the end of it all, so Arcanite bars weren't that expensive, and he was just like, here, I'm just gonna just take this Arcanite Reaper, like you need something better. So gives me an Arcanite Reaper, and I was like, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. Little do I know I'm fighting against people with like fucking Might of Menethil,
Yeah.
and you know, rank 14 weapons, and I'm just like, it's okay, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
But
Holy cow.
yeah, I mean, it was great. But then once BC came out, I stopped playing a warrior for a little bit, and I started playing a rogue because I was like, I like the faster pace of this. I want to sneak around and what. Then played with my friends, DPS'd in raids a little bit, and that was like when I got my first taste of raiding, and they made it way more like a job than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. And quit raiding, just went back to PvP, switched back to my warrior, got up to rival, and then this was the weirdest thing. They took ranks away. This was before achievements. So I got rival, and then like next season, that rank was completely gone, and there's no credit for it, and I'm kind of upset about it.
Oh, season 1?
Season 3 was when I got
they still
yeah,
didn't have them? Okay.
Yeah, it was late. Yeah, achievements didn't come out till Wrath, but then in
right.
Wrath, I hit I was over 2,500 in 5s, and then over 22 in 3s, and then close to 22 in 2s. I just never had the patience for 2s after doing 5s and 3s so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my brother hit Gladiator with my cousin, and then I just was like the PvE guy for them. They were just like, we would just talk about. I would be like, "Wow, how's it going in there, guys?" And they're like, "Oh, we're good." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I would try to join them, and I would be terrible because but it's all good. It's really cool to see them do that. But PvE was where I loved it, man. And
yeah, PvE is fun. It's just a different it's the same game, but like they're night and day. Like PvP and PvE are two completely different things, and the biggest thing that bothers me about it all is when people want to say like, you know, that they're better than you because like, or they try to like come down on PvP and like say that it doesn't take skill and that downing bosses take skill, and I'm like, if you honestly think that doing something that is predetermined and like completely controlled by a computer is harder to do than an actual tangible intelligent person, then I'm sorry, that's just silly.
No, honestly, it's the difference between jazz and playing in an orchestra. Yeah, you can work it. Like you can sit it. Yes, it's a completely difficult thing to be the best of the best in PvE, to follow all the orders, to work as a singular unit of, I mean, up to 40 people. That's pretty impressive. But to have the PvP side, having, you know, people just working together on a battleground, in a world PvP, in just a 1v1, that is a completely different beast. And yeah, it's a very much a moving like jazz. I say jazz, but I don't even listen to jazz because you know, but it's you know, it's a fluid thing. And yeah, seeing PvP, and I'm loving PvP right now as a shaman is what I play right now. And
shamans are good, man. You just gotta understand the fragileness in certain aspects that they have, but if you can I feel like
I get blown up pretty easily, but I also I destroy people as well, so like it's just sitting back waiting for just a small opportunity and taking it, and it's been really fun.
And that's what I try to stress to people, and when I'm trying to teach them about PvP, is that it's more of a chess match than any it's not just like run in, spam all your cooldowns and you win or whatever. Some situations it can be like that, but I mean, playing a warrior specifically, you're very fragile in the sense that you have no mobility other than charge and intercept, and you can't even charge in combat, so you have to play around that as well. But you know, there's different things that can help you out with it and whatnot, and then later expansions they get a little more mobility and they get a little of the stress taken off of them. But I mean, I would say my favorite very little iteration of warrior would be late BC. But like, I want to say Wrath, but Bladestorm kind of makes it too easy. So yeah, but what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was talking about my cousin. He's a warrior, so all he does is talk about how much he misses spell reflect, and he's like, if I just had spell reflect, like that guy would have been dead. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, got it, man, got it.
What you can do though is he can go engineering,
Get
get
the
that
spell reflect.
gnomish,
Yeah.
well, the gnomish death ray or whatever gives you the chance to do something that's like ranged and bursty. So
Okay.
yeah, you're not reflecting it, but you're still able to do something at range when you're rooted.
There's
And
a reflect trinket, right?
there's
Okay.
like a frost reflect trinket or something, but
Oh, it's frost
that's worth
reflects.
getting too. But I mean, that's the biggest thing you need to use it against is frost
Okay.
mages.
Okay, because I saw a rogue used that against me, and I didn't realize that's what it was because I had never heard of it before, and I frost shocked myself and killed myself, and I was like, oh, great, because I was
Yeah,
like, I have to kite this guy, I have to run away, and so I casted frost shock and killed myself.
yeah.
So that I didn't realize it was frost only. I thought it was just spell reflect. All right,
Pretty sure there's only a frost one. There may be other ones, but I can't remember.
no,
I'm
that
I'm
makes
gonna
total
get into
sense.
engineering soon, but I'm freaking still doing a million other things that I'm worried about for PVE before I start worrying about PvP.
Yeah, that's what my cousin's doing as well. He's attempting to get you got to get all that gear as much as you can to make you better at PvP for when the PvP
Yeah,
honor system actually comes out.
exactly. And see, like I'm the GM of my guild, and I'm the DPS, like the melee DPS. So I'm getting like whatever two handers I need. So I'm gonna end up with Sulfurous and BRE,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I'm trying to get to the point where I'm like geared enough to where I can consistently pull high DPS in raids and whatnot, and not have to like worry about struggling or whatever because I focused on PvP. So I'm worried about getting all my pre-raid BIS stuff first, and then I've
Mm-hmm.
got a separate BIS list for PvP that I'll worry about as like an afterthought. Because even with it is right now, like I just need a little bit more healing with the gear I have. It just makes it easier on my healers for me to get the pre-PvP stuff that I
Mm-hmm.
need.
So, what was your first class and race that you ever played? It was a warrior,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
It was an Orc Warrior.
Orc warrior. So you're back to basics with the orc warrior.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And did you ever play on any private servers?
Yeah. I mean, I played on Nost and Light Hope, Elysium, like all the ones that kind of like spawned from that. I started my first like private server thing was Nost, and it was great. Like it's just the only problem that I had with the private server stuff. Like I didn't even do anything of any value on private servers because
Yeah.
I was literally like trying to play with like people I knew, but they'd quit or they'd switch like Alliance, and like I've played both, and I've through my experience, like Horde is just way better. Like Alliance is cool, I guess, kind of, but realistically, like the people that play Horde have a better mentality that meshes with mine. Because while I do, try to do things tactically and whatnot, the Horde seem to have a more like Zerg mentality, which is fine. Like that's okay, especially for Classic, because
Mm-hmm.
everything is pretty Zergy when it comes to PvP in Classic. So I definitely like Horde more.
For me, my chat, my guildmates, they're adamant that leveling a warrior is the most difficult or tedious leveling that you can do in the game. But honestly, I haven't seen that from them. From my experience this time in Classic, I have two warrior friends that are leveling up, and every day we have the same debate where they go and kill something, and they're like, "But look how much I have to eat. Look how much I have to bandage afterwards." And they're telling me it's because I'm a shaman. But every time after I'm pulling stuff on my shaman, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm healing myself, and I'm drinking water, and I'm sitting down.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's a few things they can do to
mhm,
combat that, but I wouldn't. I don't know. The biggest thing about like why it might not be more difficult for warriors to level now as it was back then is just because there's a big like much more plethora of like knowledge and easily
mhm.
obtainable knowledge for leveling them. Lots of tips and tricks and whatnot. And
You know where the weapons are.
yeah, that and like little things like some people have given me crap for this, but yeah, I'd still stand by it. Like especially in earlier levels when you're getting like all this random gear and whatnot, like stack spirit because your
Hmm.
biggest downtime is not in combat. Your biggest downtime is outside of combat, and your damage is mostly dictated by your weapon. So if you're stacking spirit, then and you still have a good weapon, then when you're outside of combat, you're regenerating a ton of health
Hmm.
really quick, and you're still killing stuff almost the exact same speed. Like it's literally like a second difference in
Yeah.
kill speed, but like a 6 to 8 second difference in recovery time.
Yeah, warriors get a huge bonus from spirit for health. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's above everybody else. I think rogues have like a 40% or something, but warriors are like at 80 or 90% on the spirit for whatever
Yeah,
how much they benefit from it.
it's ridiculous. But I mean, and it like stacks exponentially. Like the more you get, like the way better that it is. So using like if I think I was at like 26 and had like think it was like 80 spirit or something, and I was healing for legitimately like 9% of my health per tick. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, no, totally not worth. Duh. But yeah, Warriors, their stat priority changes frequently throughout their level.
Gotcha. Okay. So next thing I want to ask you is about layering. How have you felt about it? How have you felt? Has your experience been with layering? Has anything weird happened to you with layering? And do you have any just kind of rage that you want to let out because of this thing that exists?
I obviously don't want it to stick around. I haven't really had anything weird happen to me because of it. Um, I mean, the whole like toss me an invite for a layer, like yeah, I do that if I'm looking for something and I'm just like not trying to waste time sitting there waiting for a respawn when I could just jump to another layer and it's right there. But it's obviously not good, but it's not like we can do anything about it, and it's going to disappear. So give it a year from now, and it'll be an afterthought. Like it won't matter anymore. No one will care. The economy will balance out. Like
So are you
it'll be
feeling
fine.
the same way you did about Halo 2 and the glitches and saying people are exploiting it? You're like, listen, you got to take advantages you can take.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we talked
Yeah.
about this a little bit. Your queue times, how have they been? Have they been for you? Have you been able to avoid them and been able to crush them?
Literally never waited in a queue. Like,
Really?
and because there are queues. Like there are queues on the server for sure, but you just have to play around them. Just like having someone log into your account while you're not at home or getting on at a certain time of day. Like during the first 2 weeks, I was off work for 2 weeks just to level. I hit 60 on day 12, and um, I never waited in a queue to get on. The first day I was in immediately, and then I was ready to go. Like just leveled for I think like 24 hours straight. I slept. I got up. And then, well, okay, on the second day, because we didn't know anything about when the times were, I had to wait in a queue because my sleep schedule was all screwy. Waited in a queue for a minute, got on, leveled for a few hours, and then got off and slept for about 3 hours ish. And then I'd only slept for like 4 before then. And woke up at like 8 a.m., no queue time whatsoever. Logged in, started playing, played for about 20 hours, slept for 4, logged in, started playing immediately. I was literally off 20 hours, on 4 hours for the first 2 weeks,
Wow.
and was always logging in first thing in the morning when there was no queue time. And then ever since then, if I've had to like go to work or something, the Google desktop remote app, super useful. Just log in
Yeah.
and or like, but you don't even stay in the game. You literally just start the login process. So you just go through the queue, and then if you time it right, you'll have like a 200 queue or something by the time you get home.
Yeah, I've seen people talking about that on Twitter, on things, just doing the remote desktop or logging in somehow
Yeah,
from
and it
work.
can't even be against like TOS because you're not having anyone else use your computer, or you're not doing anything other than just pressing play.
Yeah, yeah. No one's playing it. You're just getting in the queue early
Mm-hmm.
while
It'd
you're.
be the same as me running home from work and like on my lunch break
Yep.
and just pressing play and then running back to work.
And the queue times, are you worried at all when layering's gone? Do you think they think because obviously they've talked about the AQ event. They said that it's going to be they said it's going to be a problem. They're not going to bring back layering for it. They said, but they said it's going to be a problem. They think that's part of the event is the lag and the I don't know about servers crashing, but the lag involved in it. I can't imagine being on Herod and trying to do the AQ event.
No, I don't think there's going to be a problem. I mean, the server stability is going to be much better than it was back in the day, exponentially, in my opinion. Like, I don't think that there's any reason why we should be worried about it because it's not gonna be like there's not gonna be any more people on the server than there were on launch day, and launch day was fine. Now in one area, yeah, obviously it's gonna be different without layers, and you might experience some lagging, but I don't think the servers are gonna crash. And even if they do, it'll only be down for a little bit. And there's so many things that they can do behind the scenes to like make their servers stronger in those situations that we have no idea about because we're just not programmers and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that much of a problem. And with layering gone, like I don't know, I don't think the queue times are going to increase when they take layering out because, from what my knowledge of it is, the server still only holds X
Yeah.
amount of people.
Right.
So it's not like we're getting an increase on the server cap whenever or decrease on it whenever layering comes out.
Yeah, it seems like I think it'll be fine. They have mentioned the developers have mentioned that AQ is going to be a lag fest. They basically, but it's probably the servers are probably going to hold stable, but it'll be interesting. They have to come up with some. They were talking about that they have to come up with some kind of solution for it, but they didn't have anything to mention yet, and they said it would not be layering because that'll be after phase 2.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about Warriors being nerfed, quote unquote, a couple weeks ago with the demo shout nerf. Do you feel like it was justified? Do you still am angry about it? Do you think it has any kind of ability to show you your skill? With now you can say, hey, I'm a good warrior tank because I don't just rely on demo shout. Do you feel any of that, or are you just mad that they took it away?
I'm not like, for one, I don't really tank that much. Like I
Okay.
do when people need it, but it's not that it's not that I wasn't using demo shout much back then anyway, because I wasn't even aware of that being a thing that was like doing so well
Yeah.
until close to the end of it. And then even then I was like, this is dumb. Like I'm just spamming demo. I was like, I'm just gonna tab sunder, tab sunder, tab sunder. I'll put like a thunderclap up and then in one demo and then like a battle shout for that threat on AoE stuff. But then I'm still just tab sundering around. So if people were using that as a crutch to AoE tank, like, yeah, I'm glad that they fixed it, because that's just crappy. Like you should be a better warrior than just spamming one button.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not upset about it. Like a lot of things like this, I'm not upset about them changing or fixing, like how that raid XP thing was there and they fixed it or whatever, because so many people were doing these freaking SM raid farms. And I was just like, yeah, that's fine. Like most of the stuff, like I wasn't doing, like I wasn't even doing the raid farm stuff. I was still doing normal 5-mans.
Yeah.
I was tanking like I always was. And I mean, maybe I should have tried to use those things when they were there, but it's just the stuff that I've been doing for years on private servers. So it was just like engraved in my brain. And I was just like, yeah, I can't
Yeah.
change that.
Do you know anybody that exploited the raid layering bug that was recently talked about last week?
I do actually.
Yeah.
And when they told me they were doing it for dungeons, not for raids.
Yeah.
But when they told me they were doing it, I was like, y'all should not be doing that. Like that's dumb. Don't do that. And then they were like, no, it's fine. Like no one knows about it. Blah blah. And I was like, okay, well then those people like just disappeared off the face of the earth for like a week after all those people got banned. And I was like, wonder if y'all got banned.
Yeah. Do you know how long the bans were? That because I didn't hear anything about whether or not they actually went through with the bans.
The people that I heard got caught for doing they were exploiting dungeons and they were grinding like crazy amounts of, like their whole guild was doing it. They apparently amassed like 10,000 gold worth of wealth and got like all this prebis stuff that they needed or something. And then they got banned for 30 days and got all the stuff they had achieved during that time taken away.
Wow.
So they just got set back pretty far, but you know what? That's fine.
Yeah. That seems normal. What about, did you hear anything about these raid exploiters? The people that actually did like Ragnaros multiple times in a week?
No. The only one that I heard about was Svan.
Yeah.
And his was when he did it on accident, supposedly. Right. I mean, who knows? He could have been acting, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, he was like, yeah, we got a GM, and he told us it was okay to do it. And so I still feel like that was lame. Like I don't agree with the GM's decision on that. Like should have been like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Get out of there right now.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, it's not up to me, so it's whatever.
And yeah, they don't want to, I don't know, whatever. They don't want to create a big incident about it, so they just let him keep his stuff, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, he's like 1 week ahead. It's whatever. Like, and it's not even just him. It's like, it's 1 week ahead spread randomly throughout a bunch of other people, which could have been complete RNG, and they could have just got stuff in pug raids or something. So, there's probably stuff that dropped that nobody needed anyway at some point, so it's gonna balance out eventually.
I saw you didn't get to down Ragnaros yesterday. Are you guys going back in at some point this week, or is it I
don't know. I'm gonna see tonight if they're trying to do it. I know that they're doing Onyxia on Friday, but I have to work, so I'm not gonna be able to do that. Damn. But I'd like to see if they would do Rag tonight, but I don't think they're going. But it was literally just because some people were like screwing around. Like 2 solid attempts got wasted because a rogue decided to walk too close to the boss before we were ready, and then another guy shrunk Ragnaros, and we lost a huge chunk of DPS because now he was out of melee range, and then he was out of ranged range as well.
Yeah.
And then also out of the tank range. So because there was no one in tank range or whatever, he switched to all the ranged and like killed like 5 people.
Yep. That sucks.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like 2 attempts that just got wasted, and that was like, 2 or 3 fire protection potions for everybody. And I'm just like, that's great, guys. Like, come on.
So, what's your plans going forward? You keep doing Ragnaros, keep doing Onyxia. Do you think that people are going to get burned out pretty quickly here, or are you worried about Phase 2 not coming fast enough?
No, I'd prefer for Phase 2 to take longer. I don't know what their plan is for it right now, but I think that giving everybody because this should be the longest phase. Because this is the time when 90% of the people are going to be leveling and they're not going to be ready to do in-game content. So there needs to be like a leeway of like a couple months for people to hit 60 and get ready to do raids. Then the like normal amount of time to spend on a raid should start. Because like if they were to just do like 3 months of Molten Core, there'd be like 2 months where some guilds were not doing it at all.
Yep. Okay.
And so right now my plans are to just keep trying to build my guild up and get us to the point where we can do Molten Core and Onyxia and whatnot. We've got a bunch of there's probably 20 of us that are all like friends outside of the game, if not more, that we're just kind of like waiting to get to 60 because we're all adults now and have like real life jobs. And I'm just a complete degenerate that planned for this. But yeah, so we're waiting on all them to catch up, and then we're gonna get to it pretty serious. And once that happens, when we've got our like solid core up, we'll definitely have it on farm like every week, and then it'll take us like one night to clear everything.
Nice. Any YouTube videos planned out or anything going on for your YouTube channel?
The only thing I have planned right now is I'm gonna do a guide for melee cleave leveling, like with the dungeons for like doing just straight warriors and shaman comps or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it in like a little bit of like a skit kind of way, a little bit like how Swifty used to do his like funny videos where he'd be like kayaking, he'd be like, so when a rogue pops out on you, and just like freaking out about like trying to explain stuff, and he's like doing something that's completely irrelevant to World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to do something along those lines and make it a little funny and entertaining at the same time.
All his Twitch Prime plugs where he's like on a the Bungie system, whatever. It's crazy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to like break up the monotony a little bit because I am doing like a lot of guides that are like really similar, and they work and they get views, but I don't want to become stagnant.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you. Creativity and doing something you love and not just something that just feels like you're going through the motions is important.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm so glad you came on. I don't have that's all the questions I have for you. It's been it's nice to have someone on and just talk about classic WoW. And yeah, having a warrior on it's been great. I have all my warrior friends that are constantly telling me how great warrior is, and I'm always giving them wind fury, and they seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, warrior life is the best life IMO, especially with the shaman behind you.
And a priest too. They become this unstoppable god. Yeah.
But yeah, man, appreciate
it. So anyone who's listening, go to twitch.tv/Atacas. It's ATACAS. And then also go to YouTube. It's ATACAS. Same thing on YouTube. YouTube.com/Atacas. And follow his stuff there. And you're gonna have a good time with some warrior stuff.
Heck yes.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed listening to my interview with Atacas. It was really nice having a warrior main on who's hitting that end game content. If you haven't followed him yet, I don't know what's wrong with you. Okay? Go follow him. That's everything I have for you right now. I hope you stick around because there's always more stuff coming down the pipe. Have a great night, have a great life, and have a great morning.